Hey guys, if you want the latest and the top stories, I need you to go to SaraACarter.com. That's SaraACarter.com. You can also check out the podcast page, and I want you to download the Sara Carter Show there on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Listen to this. We have Daniel Hoffman on the show today. I can't even believe I was able to get my good friend Daniel Hoffman, who formerly with the Central Intelligence Agency with the CIA and an advisor to many presidents. He is going to be talking to us today, his area of expertise, about what is happening with Russia, with Vladimir Putin and Ukraine, and how that is going to affect us in the United States and will affect the rest of the world. I'm also going to be talking about Joe Biden as he tries to talk tough on Russia. I really know, I know for a fact that the Russians do not believe his tough talk. I can tell you that. I don't even need to see a dossier on that. I mean, because nobody believes it. But guess what else he's doing? While he's trying to talk tough on Russia, he's letting Russia negotiate a new nuclear deal with Iran. And he also has his State Department guy out there pretty much going to lift the sanctions off of Iran, is what we're hearing, and maybe remove the IRGC from the terror list, which is absolute insanity. How that is going to affect us and Israel is going to be off the charts, and we should definitely be paying attention to that. And I think everyone should be calling and saying, absolutely not, we will not accept that. Call your lawmakers, have them put pressure on the White House. I'll tell you all about that. I'll also talk more about the Ukrainian people and why the world is so impressed at their courage. And I think all of us should be praying for them every single day. Please follow and subscribe. Get all the links at SaraACarter.com. And folks, while you are there, can you sign up for our email list so that you don't get shadow banned? It's just that important. Go to SaraACarter.com. And while you're there, just sign up for our email list and you won't be shadow banned. Before I get to Daniel Hoffman, I want to talk to you about an organization that I absolutely believe in, and that is AMAC. There is no better way to show your support, have someone back you on the same principles and values that you believe in Washington, D.C., than becoming a member of the Association of Mature American Citizens. I'm telling you, AMAC is amazing. AMAC welcomes everyone who cares about the future of our great republic to join and stand against the progressive agenda. There is strength in numbers, and together we can bring one clear, resounding voice to Washington, D.C. By joining AMAC, you are taking the first steps to saving the America you love. AMAC offers an alternative to just about every benefit that AARP offers, but guess what? It doesn't have the liberal agenda. I stand with AMAC. I hope that you will too. I encourage you to join today at amac.us/Carter. That's amac.us/Carter. The benefits of membership are great, but guess what? The cause is even greater. Join today at amac.us/Carter. I don't know if you feel this way, but I feel that President Volodymyr Zelenskyy, when he was speaking to the European Union, was brilliant. He is the kind of leader that I think we all want to have. Somebody who stands for his nation, for his people, who's willing to put his life on the line, just like he is asking every one of his citizens to do. He's not the kind of guy that jumps on a plane seeking safety, Hamid Karzai and others, but he is the kind of man that stands firm against an enemy, stands with his people, and fights to preserve freedom. I want you to hear a little bit of what Zelenskyy had to say while he was speaking to the EU, because I think it's just amazing.
We are fighting just for our land and for our freedom, despite the fact that all large cities of our country are now blocked. Nobody is going to enter and intervene with our freedom and country. And believe you me, every square of today, no matter what it's called, is going to be called, as today, Freedom Square in every city of our country. Nobody's going to break us. We're strong. We're Ukrainians.
You know, even the New York Times tried to make fun of President Zelenskyy, saying that he was in over his head. There was some opinion piece in there. He's a comedian. He doesn't, have what it takes to stand up to Vladimir Putin. He has everything it takes to stand up to Vladimir Putin. And you want to know why? Because he believes in freedom, because he believes in what he's fighting for, because he believes in the Ukrainian people. He believes in the sovereignty of his land. And there are things that people are willing to die for. I think about all of our troops that have fought overseas and are, friends of ours, my husband and I, we've lost really good friends, people we loved. And my husband almost lost his life. And I don't think there's any way to explain or express what it's like to be on a battlefield. My experience as a journalist was much different, I'm sure, than a soldier, a war fighter that was out there every single day, sometimes multiple deployments. And even though I would go out there, quite often I was covering the war and I'd go twice a year into Afghanistan. And now I think about my colleagues, Fox News colleagues in Ukraine, and how dangerous a situation it is there, but how important it is for them to report the facts as they come and be able to give us the truth. And I think what makes President Zelenskyy, so powerful and so miraculous, like a leader, is that he's willing to put himself in the place of his people. He's saying, look, let me lead you. I'm willing to stand my ground. I'm willing to put my life on the line for my country, because it's more than just words, right? It's more than just words. It's showing people that you're willing to do it. It's standing firm. That's what makes a great leader. What makes a great leader is somebody who can empathize, somebody who understands what suffering is all about, somebody who understands what it takes to, live paycheck to paycheck, somebody who understands what it feels like to send your sons and daughters off to war and may never see them again. Somebody who knows and understands what it feels like to fight for something as essential and as important as freedom. That's why you could hear the translator, his voice is cracking as Zelenskyy is making this speech and saying, every square is Freedom Square in Ukraine now. Every square is Freedom Square. Do you see what happened to our country over the last few years? Just even with COVID, the overreach of government into our lives. How dangerous that is. What it means to be free. What it means to be free. The sacrifices that our ancestors have made, that our soldiers have made on the battlefield. The sacrifices that our ancestors made just to come to America. Just to cross the Great Plains, and how many people lost their lives. And I think all of us, watching 1883 or, looking at, history, or, some of us are just, advocates for for freedom around the world. But we understand when we see people fight for something that they believe in, for a cause that they believe in. We understand that freedom is a human right, and that every human being on planet Earth deserves the right to be free. And we see what Vladimir Putin is doing. And I think that's why so many of us connect with Zelenskyy. We feel that power he has when he's speaking, because it's the same thing that made our nation so great, right? It's the same thing that we fought for. And it's who we are as a people. We may be a melting pot, but we're a melting pot for a reason, because all of the people, all of the immigrants that have shown up here, all of our ancestors that came to the United States, they came with really one thing in mind: to come to a country that is free, to come to a nation that would give their family a future, one that nobody would be in control of but you and me, our future. And that's what Zelenskyy is fighting for. And we're at a crux, you guys. We're at a very dangerous time in world history. This is, I can't imagine being at a more dangerous time right now, particularly with the threats being made by Vladimir Putin. We're seeing China rise. We're seeing what's happening with Iran. Our great ally Israel is on edge as well. We have an administration that appears to be just melting, breaking apart. The State of the Union address was unbelievable. It was terrible. I think we're all concerned about what the future holds. I mean, we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen in Ukraine. We don't know if we're going to be pulled into a war. We don't know if Vladimir Putin's going to push into Lithuania. We don't understand what he's doing along the Polish border. And, and will Belarus be backing him? Is he trying to break the back of NATO? We just don't know. But that's why I have Daniel Hoffman on the show today, because he's going to break that down for us. And he's going to let us, I hope, understand, give us maybe kind of an understanding of what is actually happening overseas and how that will affect us, and maybe what we can do to help our Ukrainian brothers and sisters, in their fight for freedom, and at the same time, pray that we keep our nation safe and that our young men and women are not thrown into another battle or into another war. But before I get to him, I want you to all go to mypillow.com, because my friend Mike Lindell has so many great bargains for you there. All you have to do is go to the My Listeners page and enter the promo code Carter. You put CARTER. There are over 20 deals for you to choose from. It's crazy. You'll get My Pillows for as low as $19.98. You'll get slippers at like 50% off. My Pillow towel sets at their lowest price ever for like $39.99. You can't beat that. 60% off any Giza Dream Sheets, which I've told you I have them all over my house. I love them, and now they're as low as $39.99. And you get a free copy of Mike Lindell's book with the code Carter. You'll find all of these offers and more at mypillow.com. Click on the radio listeners square and use the promo code Carter, CARTER, at checkout, or call 1-800-685-7221. Right now, every order using promo code Carter will receive Mike's new book, What Are the Odds? From Crack Addict to CEO. That's a great book. You'll get that for free. MyPillow.com, promo code Carter, or call 1-800-685-7221. Don't forget code Carter for your free book. And now I'm going to get to Daniel Hoffman. I want to tell you a little bit about my friend Daniel. We spent some time together in Finland. He is amazing. He speaks Finnish. He speaks Russian. He is, I also think he speaks Urdu. He is a genius. Before joining Fox News, Hoffman had a distinguished career with the Central Intelligence Agency. He served there as a 3-time station chief and a senior executive clandestine services officer. Hoffman's also led a large-scale human intelligence gathering and technical programs, and his assignments included tours of duty in former Soviet Union, Europe, and the war zones in the Middle East and South Asia. In addition, he served as director of the CIA's Middle East and North Africa division. You cannot ask for more. First of all, thank you so much, Daniel, for being on the Sara Carter Show. And as you know, I think the whole world is on edge right now, particularly with the actions taken by the Russians, what's happening in Ukraine. I was looking at some of your tweets right now. You're talking about China. I wanted to get your take on China's, relationship with Russia, and the fact that there is a rumor now that China asked the Russians to hold off until they could get through the Olympics before going into Ukraine.
Yeah, so reportedly that's true, that when Vladimir Putin was in Beijing for the Olympics, that he had that discussion with Xi Jinping. And the Chinese know that they don't have the wherewithal to convince Vladimir Putin not to invade Ukraine. The best they could ever hope for was that it would not happen during the Olympics. Kind of reminds me of an old Russian saying. I said it on Hannity last night. It applies to so many different situations. In Russian, it's "Tvaya rubashka blizhe k telu." Your own shirt is closest to your skin. That's kind of the way the Chinese are, and the Russians as well. But I just highlight, kind of in a larger sense here for Russia and China. Vladimir Putin is fighting Ukraine. He's fighting the West by extension in Ukraine. But make no mistake, this is also a message to China because the number one trading partner for Ukraine is China. And Vladimir Putin wants to make it clear to the Chinese that they can have their, Silk Road initiative, whatever they wish, but that at the end of the day, that former Soviet space is his, not China's. And that's why, not now, maybe not in the next 10 years, but someday down the road, these two countries will be strategic adversaries because China is encroaching on Russia's sphere of influence in Central Eurasia, and the Russians are going to push back. We saw them deploy 3,000 special forces to Kazakhstan to do that.
Well, that's a really interesting point that kind of turned my assumptions around. I was thinking that there's somewhat of a global shifting that we're seeing right now, moving the power away from the West, where you see the rise of of Russia, you see China. We're seeing a rise in Iran right now. Are you concerned at all that there has been an enormous shift in power, like a geopolitical strategic change that may last, something that could really harm the West and the United States?
No. So listen, all of these countries have relationships with one another, and they're not like perfect alliances. Russia and China may agree on destroying the world, the international base rules, order, and international law, and all those things. But they're not in agreement on everything, and that's why it's up to the United States to have kind of a nuanced foreign policy where we're able to exacerbate and exploit the differences among these different countries. Look, Russia and Iran are allies. That means that Israel should not be engaging with Russia, certainly not to the extent Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu did back during the Obama administration, for example. Turkey and Russia have been getting closer in their relationship, but they've always had issues over Syria and now big issues over Ukraine. So we can exploit that. The second point is you and I and the listeners can thank the most unlikely person, Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelenskyy, for waking the Western democracies out of their post-Cold War slumber and showing us that there's something to fight for. So we are collectively right now today much stronger. Not because of with all due respect, President Trump's strong-arm tactics on NATO or President Biden's kinder, gentler approach. It's Zelenskyy who said, no, I don't need a riot. I need ammunition. The fight's here. And he's mobilizing the international community like it hasn't been mobilized since the Second World War. And he's been the great communicator, the great leader, extraordinarily unexpected. But that's what he's doing. And he's playing to his strength. And frankly, he's kicking Vladimir Putin's ass. And Putin's supposed to be the KGB guy who knows all this stuff. But he's getting beat by, a comedian. But the comedian knows how to communicate. He knows how to clap back on Twitter. And he knows how to deliver the right messages to inspire his own people and again, galvanize the international community where he needs them.
Well, I certainly think there's been a lot of concern, and you're absolutely right about President Zelenskyy. I think he's shown the world what it takes to be a great leader, and I think the Ukrainian people deserve a lot of credit too. I mean, they are really standing up to Russia, and they're standing for sovereignty. But I think there's a lot of concern right now, particularly with Rob Malley over at the State Department, the special envoy to Iran. We're hearing that, Biden, he's been negotiating with the Iranians, and he's basically, what we're hearing, he's going to offer to lift sanctions on Iran and also remove the IRGC from the terror list. I mean, that's very concerning because, again, I think that shows weakness on our part, and it's got to concern Israel.
Well, that's just the wrong thing to do. The last deal was a bad deal. That's why it never became a treaty in the Senate. That's why Democrats like Senator Chuck Schumer rejected it. We all know the reasons why the JCPOA was awful. The sunset clauses, the fact that it didn't deal with Iran's ballistic missile program or their state sponsorship of terrorism. For all those reasons and many more, now is not the time to flood Iran with a bunch of money so they can use it to fund their proxy militias in Bahrain, in Yemen, in Lebanon, in Iraq. Not to mention mount all sorts of other attacks against our allies and us, frankly. This Biden administration was talking about a longer and stronger deal. I don't see that right now. And Russia was never going to help us in those negotiations. Neither was China. In fact, they're helping Iran. That's another element of this that causes concern. So you're right to be concerned. But if there's one thing we learned, arguably, from this latest crisis in Ukraine, where Russia's unprovoked invasion of Ukraine, you've got to stand tall. And there's a time when you've got to stand tall, and you're going to have to do it. Maybe you just have to do it the Israeli way, which is a little bit more kinetic than this administration might like. But at the end of the day, that might be what we're faced with. We are negotiating from a position of strength, and I think too many times we give in the interest of getting an agreement that at the end of the day puts us in a weaker position.
Absolutely. Better to be on the offensive sometimes than always on the defensive. I'm going to have just a couple more questions for you before I let you go, Daniel. I know you're in a rush, but I wanted to ask you this. We're already seeing what the ugliest tactics of Russia, civilian casualties. It's probably going to get far worse. But tell me, based on your knowledge of the Russian government, particularly of Vladimir Putin, what do you think his options are right now? I mean, is he going to just go full force? I mean, it seems like he would not want to give up his position of strength.
No, he's escalating. And all you have to do is go back in history and look what he did in Grozny in 99-2000, where he just leveled Grozny. Did the same thing in Aleppo in Syria. That's the way the Russians do it. In the United States, in our military, and I can tell you this from experience, if we're trying to kill an al-Qaeda guy, that's what we're going to do. And we're going to want to be near certain that that's the guy we're killing. We're not at war with the non-combatants. We don't want to kill them. Russia is massively violating international law and the law in war. They're not showing proportionality. They're not discriminating between combatants and non-combatants. And they are not trying to avoid killing non-combatants. In fact, they're deliberately targeting them. They're targeting schools and residential areas. And that is, I'm sad to say, typical of the Russian rules of engagement. And the fact that the media is shining a spotlight on that. Look, we've got Fox News colleagues out there in Ukraine right now in harm's way reporting. God bless them. Mm-hmm. But it's a war zone, and we rely on them to report the facts. That's important.
That's very important. You brought up a really good point, and pray every day for any of our journalists who are out there in the war zone trying to get the truth to us. The world is sanctioning Putin right now, Daniel. His banks are being frozen out. He's got Shell and BP won't do business with him. Other companies are going to jump on board. These actions, do you think they're going to suffocate him in such a way? But how much do you think they're accomplishing?
Well, they're cratering Russia's economy. There's arguably more we could do. I think Europe is still buying gas, and oil from Russia. So there's probably still more we could do. But look, Vladimir Putin's $600 billion rainy day fund is inaccessible to him right now. And in the immediate term, look, sanctions are great, and they're good long-term, targeting the Russian economy and making it clear to Russia's elites that this is going to carry on and we're going to continue to hammer their economy. But what Ukraine needs right now is they need humanitarian assistance, food, water, and they need military equipment. And we've got to find a way to ensure that we continue to do that as Russia ramps up their attacks. And that's going to be the challenge for us, all the while ensuring we don't end up in a kinetic war with Russia. The hallmark of the Cold War was we fought a lot of proxy wars against the Soviet Union, but we never engaged in direct combat. And there's no question that I think from both Republicans and Democrats would agree that we want to avoid direct contact with the Russian military, but at the same time support Ukraine. And that's what we've got to do.
And last question, worst case scenario, in your opinion, even seeing that Vladimir Putin put his nuclear assets on the ready, and worst case scenario and best case scenario?
A couple things on the nuclear forces. We'll put his forces. We've got 4 states of readiness. He's moved it up from 1 to 2 of 4. So that's a message to us. And I think we read that one loud and clear. Russia has different rules of engagement. They do not have a no first use policy. They would be prepared to use tactical nuclear weapons on the battlefield. Now, would they do it? That's a question that our intelligence community is going to have to answer for President Biden. Vladimir Putin, though, has shown he's pretty ruthless. He used polonium-210 on an FSB agent, Litvinenko, was living in London. He turned that guy into a human dirty bomb. with absolutely no regard for anybody the guy came in contact with and caused great harm as a result, or using the banned chemical nerve agent Novichok in the UK or against his own opposition figure, Alexei Navalny. So Russia doesn't see the world the way we do in terms of innocent non-combatants. And ultimately, using nuclear weapons, that's the result of that. Now, I don't think Vladimir Putin is suicidal, but at the same time, there is no off-ramp for him, I don't think. I mean, this is the challenge. If President Biden were on your show right now, I'd ask him, sir, can you live on a planet with Vladimir Putin running the show in Russia? I mean, could you see him as president of Russia after this, after the war crimes? And if not, then what is Putin prepared to do to stay in power? Those are the big questions. They are disconcerting ones, and they're ones to which I'm sorry to say I don't think we have the answer right now. But you can bet that my former colleagues in the intelligence community are working it hard.
The only thing I see that could get us out of this right now, Daniel, is if the high-level officials very close to Putin, unfortunately, will probably have to take him out. I can't see him operating and running Russia after this unless he goes full force and we can't stop him. I don't know.
Well, we'll see about that. That's happened before. War has not been kind to Russia. The Russian Tsarist Empire collapsed in the wake of World War I, and General Secretary Brezhnev's decision in the latter years of his life to invade Afghanistan put a whole lot of nails in the Soviet evil empire coffin. So those are things to be thinking about, as well as the 1991 KGB coup against Gorbachev, when they realized, he realized clearly that Gorbachev was not going to be able to keep the Soviet Union together, and they launched a coup. Those are the guys Vladimir Putin is most concerned about. That's the odd thing here. His inner circle is not a bunch of trusted advisors on whom he can really rely. He can rely on them to the extent that their interests don't diverge, but they may be diverging right now if people decide that or realize that Vladimir Putin could have essentially achieved his goals and subdued the West without firing a shot, to quote Sun Tzu. Before he invaded Ukraine, he could have said, okay, I'm going to remove my troops, but I'm going to charge you a hefty price for it. I want the Donbass to be independent all the way out to the regional boundary of the region, the oblast, as they say in Russian, and I'll remove my troops and whatever other stuff he would have wanted. I think we might have caved and given it to him, frankly. But he didn't do that. He chose, to stop playing chess and play some poker with maybe just a pair of twos. And that's dangerous for Ukraine, obviously the most perilous time in their history, but it could be quite significantly dangerous for the rest of us.
Well, I keep praying, and thank you so much for your time. I mean, it is something that I think we're all concerned about. I think something that this is an issue that everybody in the world is watching because it'll affect every single one of us. Daniel Hoffman, thank you again.
All right. Take care.
Wow. That was Daniel Hoffman. I mean, you cannot get better knowledge about the region than from him. I mean, he is absolutely an expert on the Russians and the Ukrainians, and somebody that I would go to for the latest information. And he sounds very concerned, and I'm very concerned as well as you are. I think we just have to keep praying and hoping that something will turn out for the better, and that the Ukrainian people will find their independence and sovereignty again under President Zelenskyy, and that we will find peace in our world, that somehow this will be rectified, and that honestly, Vladimir Putin will be just a name in a history book and not the leader of Russia anytime soon. So we'll just have to leave it at that. Guys, Dr. Mike Fulgence, he's America's gold expert and the 2021 Numismatic Dealer of the Year. He is predicting, listen to this, that silver prices will continue to rise as inflation and industrial use follow their upward trends. And we've seen where inflation is going, folks. That's why his company, Universal Coin and Bullion, is now offering you a 2022 genuine 1-ounce silver American Eagle coin at just $28. That's with free shipping directly to you. If buying American-made products is important to you, these pure silver coins backed by the United States Mint will hit the mark. Silver is up over 400% in the past 30 years. And guess what? It's poised to go even higher. Everyone should own a percentage of precious metals. So call Universal Coin and Bullion today at 1-800-UCB-GOLD. Be sure to mention me by name when you call. That's 1-800-UCB-GOLD to get a tangible asset you can hold in your hand, guys. Call Universal Coin and Bullion at UCB Gold and their expert team of representatives will help you order your $28 American Silver Eagle coin today. 1-800-UCB Gold. Don't forget to tell them Sarah sent you. Guys, it's bad enough when a politician cheats on his wife, right? But having an affair with the wife of a former ISIS official really takes the stupid to a new level. That's where Texas Republican Congressman Van Taylor comes in. He's apologized for having an affair, listen to this, with the widow of an ISIS member from Texas. And he's going to halt his run for re-election. I can't even imagine what was going through this man's head. Well, yes, I can. But that's crazy. He is conceding the GOP runoff to former Collin County Judge Keith Self, and that's according to the Dallas Morning News. I want you to think about how insane it is that a man running for Congress was just honeypotted by the widow of an ISIS member. Islamic State. This is what I'm saying. Sometimes I just have to sit back and think, like, I feel like I am in an alternate universe, right? I know, we hear Daniel Hoffman. He's so eloquent. He understands foreign policy. He's the kind of person we want advising a president on any issue related to Russia, to Moscow, to Beijing, somebody who's traveled the world, Pakistan. Here's somebody who really knows what they are doing. And then we've got, like at the top of the show, we talk about Biden's State of the Union address and crazy Nancy Pelosi behind him. I don't know what was going on there. Like I said, she could have been drinking the vodka. I don't know what was happening there. And Kamala Harris and her basic fifth grade. It wasn't even fifth grade. It was like a kindergarten explanation for what is happening in Ukraine. That is our vice president. That she doesn't even have any idea, I'm telling you, of what really is going on there. We are really in some deep trouble. I am so grateful that this politician, this man, Van Taylor, got caught with his pants down. So now we know he was hanging out with ISIS widows. Guys, you can't make this stuff up. It's not in the Onion. Meanwhile, Oklahoma Democratic congressional candidate, listen to this, Abby Broyles is also doing damage control after becoming drunk, berating teenage girls and more. Is this crazy? I mean, I think she's hanging out with Nancy Pelosi. I really do. Okay, listen to this story. The U.S. House candidate in Oklahoma, she's apologized after reports that she became intoxicated at a Valentine's Day weekend sleepover for middle school-aged girls. She berated several of the children and then vomited into a hamper. No, I am not making this up. This is not the Onion. This is not the Babylon Bee. Democrat Abby Broyles, 32 years old, told a television station, KFOR, that she had an adverse reaction after drinking wine. Yeah, the adverse reaction is you drank too much wine. Abby, you drank it all. You drank it all at a sleepover for middle school-aged girls. You shouldn't have been drinking at all. And she was taking sleep medication that was given to her by a friend. How many times do I warn you all? Do not take medication that is not prescribed to you by your doctor. One, it could kill you. I've been talking about fentanyl forever. And two, you could end up like Abby Broyles. You could end up vomiting into a laundry hamper after chastising a bunch of little girls at a sleepover. It's really crazy. So this is what she said. Instead of helping me sleep, I hallucinated. Likely excuse. And I don't remember anything until I woke up or came to, and I was throwing up in a hamper. Parents and at least one of the girls who were at the sleepover told the online news outlet Non-Doc, the first one to report this story, that Broyles used profanity and berated several of the 12 and 13-year-old girls at the party. One girl with acne and another of Hispanic ethnicity. It's pretty much over for Abby Broyles. Political career, Beanie. And so is the show. Thank you so much for being a part of the Sarah Carter Show. I hope we gave you something to think about. Guys, we got to pray. We got to pray not only for our country, but for our world. Our world right now, which is really on the edge. And it's going to take all of us to make a difference. And I really do believe in prayer. I also believe I also believe that coming together is going to make a big difference. You know, we've got to stop being so divided with one another in the United States. We've got to start working together. And you guys, 2022, midterms coming around the corner, 2024, we need to make a change for the better in our country. I think we all know that. Again, thank you for being a part of the Sara Carter Show. God bless the United States of America. God bless our world. And God bless the great state of Texas. Today, I'm joined by Rebecca Weber, the CEO of the Association for Mature American Citizens. It's also known as AMAC. Can you share a little bit with the audience about your father, Dan Weber, and how he founded AMAC and why?
My father formed AMAC after he recognized that the AARP really was not representing his values, and those values were really faith, family, and freedom. And my father believed in America's greatness. He believed that there was what he described as a cultural shift occurring in our country. He thought that the very, very foundation, the Constitution, was being disregarded. And we saw that the power of government was growing and individual freedoms were diminishing, were being threatened. And to get more specific was in 2006 when he said to me that he was canceling his AARP membership. And I said to my father, why would you do that? And he said, well, they've just named Harry Belafonte Man of the Year. And he went on to say that Harry Belafonte had commented to Hugo Chavez saying that George W. Bush was the greatest terrorist threat in America. And my father said something is wrong with that. So he saw the AARP make this sharp left turn. And that was when he said, let's form AMAC. And I said, let's do it.
Rebecca, thanks so much for being with me today. I'm honored to have you and AMAC as a sponsor for the Sara Carter Show. You know, for more information, folks, visit amac.us/Carter.